Clarity precedes mastery. What is up, champions? Welcome to another episode of Champion Reads, where we talk about best-selling books and their best principles to help you out with your best life. I'm your host, Willie Blake, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ian Sturmer, as well as the founder of Champion Circle, Mr. John Kovacs Jr. And we are excited today because for this month, we are jumping into the book by Brendon Burchard, which is High Performance Habits. This got to be one of my top. I read a lot of books. One of my top. I'd put it in top 15 of all the books in the entire world. High Performance Habits. If you guys see the video, you can go over to look at John's video, the wonderful green and gray book that's there. High Performance Habits. How extraordinary. Oh no! Turn it back. You got it. Flip it back over. The subheading. How extraordinary people become that way. Boom. There you go. And we are going to jump into actually the topic today of Brennan's first habit, which is seek clarity. Now, we all know when it comes to communication, we got to be clear on things, just like that fun little thing that John and I just had of turning the book around and getting the book back up. Clarity is so important, and especially when it comes to business and it comes to our own personal lives of being the highest performing individuals that we can be and the champions that we need to be. Seeking clarity is that first habit that we need to be able to master and gain expertise in to get the results that we want. So excited to talk about this topic with my fellow champions today. And just right off the bat, I just want to ask both of you to start this off. What's clarity? What's clarity to you?
Have you ever had a conversation with a toddler and it's just a babbling, bumbling conversation of nada and a lot of consonants and vowels that have no correlation? It's them figuring it out, right? It's putting things together and it just hasn't clicked yet. And throughout our lives, we continue to accumulate knowledge that makes that communication a lot clearer. He shares a quote at the beginning of this section in this book, and it says, if you don't have clarity of ideas, you're just communicating sheer sound. That's a quote by Yo-Yo Ma. And I love that because literally that reminds me of just talking to toddlers. And sometimes, no offense to adults, we grow up thinking we're clear, but we're just continuing as adults to create noise. And that's because we don't have clarity. Now, here at Champion Circle, we preach the importance of affirmations. We preach the importance of repetition and writing your goals down and speaking them and repeating them out loud and making sure that we continue to remind ourselves the clarity of our vision, our goals, and where we're heading. Because if we have no direction, we're just wandering souls. And it's the same concept. So blah, 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 blah. If I'm not clear, then I need to increase or improve the way I communicate. And that does go with how I communicate with others as well as self. So internal, personal communication is just as important as external communication or the communication between point A and point B through Z. And that's kind of my definition. That's my thought on clarity. I'm sticking to Brendon Burchard's definition too. It's all about clarity through communication.
Love that. My mind went somewhere completely different. Actually, not completely different, just a little different. I guess we talk so much about goals and goal setting here that when I think of clarity, my mind immediately goes to our goals. And so I love music, and I love to go to a record store and just like browse through a record store and see what I find. And it's kind of a fun thing to do. and I might come up with something good, or I may walk out and a couple of days later realize I bought something that's I won't ever even listen to, or maybe it wasn't, I listened to it once and it wasn't good. That's not clarity, and it's fun in one circumstance. But I look at my life and my business. If I don't have a goal that I'm going towards, if I don't have it set in my mind and know what it is, I wander around and I don't achieve it for the most part. If I don't know what it is, if it's not clear in my mind, I'm not motivated, there's no vision towards it, I may not even know when I achieve that goal if I haven't put clarity in there first. So I think it's just, I have to know what it is I want. It has to be able to visualize it in my mind, or else I don't have the motivation. I don't have a structure for it. And there's a quote by Tony Robbins. It is nearly impossible to amble languorously towards excellence. You can't just wander around and suddenly be excellent. You gotta have a clear vision of what it is you're looking for. So that's clarity for me.
It's so interesting. Like when it comes to clarity, each of us kind of have our own definitions of it, but it's really basically the exact same thing, which is unveiling the leaves, the clouds, the whatever terminology you want to be able to make way for a certain result to happen. I know when I've been trying to seek clarity, some of the best things to do is really lay it out, because as a dyslexic, I have so many thoughts going on, and since it affects my processing abilities, keeping thoughts in my head, I'll have them, I'll think about them, and then I'll jump to a next topic, mixture with ADHD. And by the time that I get to like the fifth or sixth thought, thoughts 1 through 4 are already out. And I'm like, oh, those need to be done, but don't think about them till either they're urgent and they're right there, or it's past the deadline. And it's like, well, crap. That kind of sucks. So one of the best things that's worked for me is literally on my laptop, I have probably 15 different Post-it notes that are just scattered throughout of reminders of things I need to do. And then every so often, I'll condense them down to one so that I have like certain, just a singular list of the things that I need to get done. But what helps me with clarity is taking it out of my head so that I can see it. And that way, I am not solely the person who is held accountable in that way of needing to remember, but then I actually have another person, a Post-it note to help me remember. And goodness gracious, if that hasn't helped me seek clarity and be clear with the things I need to get done, I don't know what else has.
Well, just like any goal, if you don't know really what you're heading towards or doing, then you're really on a path of confusion and disclarity or clutter, or might I even say like fogginess, because clarity is not only a description or an adjective of vision, of visuality, right? Something that you can see, but it's also something of mind and purpose. It's a very intimate word, because clarity has a lot to do with the seen and unseen, the visualization of non-tangibility as well as concepts. Because when we all like understand something, that light bulb moment happens, right? And it's not that we see it, because it's not really there, it's just a bunch of ideas and concepts, but all of a sudden they connect. So when it comes to performing or establishing and learning habits, nonetheless high performance habits, you really need to be clear. You don't just, uh, and I hate saying it this way because I sort of disagree, but what I was about to say was, you don't just get skills by working on one thing. And you do. The truth is you do. A byproduct of working on what you're working on is you learn new skills, you learn new habits, and you get yeah, you get stronger in a way. But what I love about clarity is that if you are forward thinking and you have the ability to see peripherally the journey that you are on, then you have the ability to recognize the various skills and habits that you'll obtain along the journey. What I mean by this is not only are you designing your future by being clear about what your goals and destination are, but also be clear as to what that journey will bring you. Consequently, you'll learn and gain no matter what. But if you design it because you are absolutely clear in your purpose and your desire, well, now you're unstoppable, because now you're saying, well, hey, I drink water and I know water is going to make me happy and healthy, but I drink water and I do it on a daily basis so that I can throw down a can of caffeine every now and then. So my body is still good, but I just enjoy a can of caffeine, right? I don't know. I'm just poking fun at a conversation we were just having in the green room, but it makes sense, right? You develop. There you go. Ooh, ski. You develop a habit of creating the outcomes, and that is clear, because I'm going to go back to it, guys. I'm going to take you through desire drive-through. And if the desire drive-through isn't clear enough, then you don't know what you truly want. And if you pull up to any drive-through, let's say Taco Bell, or hey, well, you know what? Why not? Let's go with the Lord's Chicken, Mr. Chick-fil-A, okay? And if you go to Chick-fil-A, I know you know what you want. You look at the menu, but you know what you want. In fact, sometimes they greet you way before you even get to the menu, because you know what you want. You don't even need to see it. So if you pull up to the drive-through of desire and you don't know what you want, you might have to browse the menu, create some vision boards, and kind of get some clarity on that. It's okay, but you need to go there regularly, so that when you tell the universe, when you tell God, when you tell your future, when you tell your future self the clarity that it is that you want, it's so much easier to order through desire drive-through, to pull up to that window and take what you want and to live it. And you develop those habits, those skill sets, those assets of your life that become you and what you truly desire. So don't forget that clarity is not just seen, but it is also imagined, and it is also a concept, something that you can pull out of the air, but it's still not a physical object.
I like that. As you're talking, it kind of made me, sorry, my mind went all over and not being clear in my mind and my thoughts. And part of that is something you started out with, that clarity is something you have to achieve. And it can be achieved through sitting down and focusing on what's important. And it can be achieved through experiencing life and finding out different things. We love water. Water is good for us. But if you get lost in the desert, it becomes incredibly clear to you that you need water, or that you should have packed just a little bit more water. So a lot of times our experiences are going to remind us what should have been more clear in our mind. And I think we start to get ideas, and we're all in this group a little bit ADD and scatterbrained about certain things. And I was looking at Willie, and I'm going to pick on Willie for a little bit. Actually, I was going to say Willie's wearing glasses, but I'm wearing glasses too. And if I start kind of marking on my glasses all the little things that are important to me, or all the little things that I would like to do, I'm not going to be able to see anything, because I've just marked up my glasses with all sorts of stuff. And if I wipe all those off, suddenly I can see the world around me, and I can see that clarity. And I think that's kind of the other half of clarity. You set your goals, you get your ideas of what you want, but you also have to be open enough to see the world around you, to recognize when a change needs to be made, to recognize when what we thought was right may not be right. And I'm hijacking this in an entirely different direction, sorry, because I started out with focusing on goals and being clear on your goals and moving towards those. But there's another side of clarity, that you need to see what's going on in the world. All of us here are married, and I'm sure we've all had a really great idea and brought it up to our wife, and she has made a comment which made it very clear to us that we were not very smart in our idea. I can't think of a good example now, but there's probably thousands in my life. where different information came up to me and realized with clarity, I need to move this direction. So I'm going to say clarity it's a balance between focusing forward with what you want and narrowing it, narrowing it down, and also keeping a wider vision. There was a saying I heard a while ago that you should survey large fields, cultivate small fields. And I think that's a balance that you need to have clarity. You can't shut out the world from everything else around you, but you can't be so distracted by everything else. So clarity is balance. That's my comment.
Clarity is balance. Goodness gracious. I want to ask both of you kind of a more in-depth question with this, which is as we go through life and clarity wasn't an option, like we could not become clear ever, how would your actions be impacted? And I'll throw it to either one of you to be able to answer that first.
Interesting. I'm going to say if clarity was not an option, right? I imagined immediately a world of fog and a world where our vision is not clear and you're constantly taking it one step at a time and you're seeking balance, as you mentioned earlier. You're seeking things to hold on to. You're attempting not to run into things. There's just there's a lot that goes on with having no clarity. And immediately I went into, well, it just makes you clearer because you can't rush. You can't run through the fog. You just have to make sure you take everything with an intentional step at a time. And you become more focused, you become more centered, and all of the clutter that you could see can't distract you because you clearly and literally have nothing but focus. So in a way, for me, I think if we lived in a world without clarity and it was hard to see anything, you would have to be more clear. And so I'm grateful for the flexibility and creativity that we're given, because in a world where we have no variety, we would have no choice but to be clear, or you don't survive. And that seems to make sense to me. But I'm glad you asked the question. Very deep.
Yeah, it is. So one of my guiding principle quotes in my life that I use is you can either choose an action and live with the consequence, or you can choose a consequence and do the actions to get there. And I think without clarity, there's a disconnect between action and consequence. If we had no clarity in our life, I think we would eternally be going after the action and be stuck living with whatever consequence comes from it. I think that cause-effect relationship would be severed in our mind without a clarity, without ever learning that the burning sensation on my finger is caused by touching the stove. If I didn't know that, I would continually complain about these burning sensations in my finger and never know to stop touching the stove. So I think clarity is what lets us see that connection between an action and a consequence and be able to build that within our minds to plan to create something in our mind and go get that action to achieve that creation that we've made. I think without clarity, we would never understand that if there was literally no clarity in our minds.
Interesting thoughts. I think that if there were no clarity and how would it impact my actions? It would feel like the first steps of when I started an entrepreneurial journey. It's like you know that you want to help people, you know that you want to make money, you know that you don't want to work a 9-to-5 anymore, but you don't know what you want to do, and so you're jumping from thing to thing, from MLMs to side hustles to doing Amazon drop shipping to jumping on webinars and masterminds to like there's so many different things out there that you can make money off of and help people, that the inclarity of it, my actions would be put into so many different things that I wouldn't be able to build anything. So because of the so many things going on. And it reminds me of 10x is easier than 2x, a book that we did last year by Dan Sullivan, which he talked about that principle to where a lot of people think 2x. They think of what can I do just to make a little extra money? Well, there's a lot of ways. You can do a side hustle. You can start selling drugs. You can go be a homeless person and stand at the corner of Walmart to get money, which apparently they make $50 an hour doing, that I learned yesterday. There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways you can do it. But if you think of 10x, which is the big thing of how can I make 10x more than I am? If your goal is to make $100K a year, a lot of different ways. If your goal is to make $1 million a year, it shortens the list down to probably about 2 or 3 things. And I don't know about you, but it's a lot easier to choose 2 or 3 things than hundreds of things. Try to pick one out of it. So I think that my actions would, without clarity, would reflect confusion and just trying to row the boat in the middle of the ocean as fast as I can, not getting anywhere. But man, I'm so glad for clarity, because being able to have clarity helps us be able to know the direction we need to head and actually start climbing up that ladder.
I'll just jump in here and just, I love that. I love the perspective. I love that it can be either or. I love that it can be something that we generally recognize that it has to be obtained. A life without clarity does not sound fun. A life without clarity seems really confusing and pretty dark, honestly. For those of you listening, I know we're talking about a book. I know this is Brendon Burchard, High Performance Habits. It's a New York Times bestseller. But at the end of the day, like, if this is one principle that you definitely feel like you're wandering, like you're lost, maybe you've fallen into the habit of drifting, which Napoleon Hill describes in his book, Outwitting the Devil. This is a great reminder and a call to you to find clarity, to grab somebody near you and ask them, what do you think I should do? And then allow that idea to be planted so that you can grow it and facilitate it or nurture it so that you can find clarity. If you don't need other people, turn to your habits or modalities in gaining clarity, whether that be prayer, meditation, yoga, exercise is good for the soul as well. Sometimes it's caffeine. Sometimes you just need your drug. No, I'm just kidding. I did not promote that here on the line here.
We do not promote drugs on Champion.
But whatever it is that you need to do to get clarity, do it. Because when it comes to achieving high performance, it's not necessarily a goal of selfishness, because the clearer you are, the clearer you communicate, and the clearer you make things easier for other people, or that you make them clearer for other people. And so literally the world's waiting on you. So get out of it. Get out of your funk. Get out of there. Like clear up the space, because the world relies on your ability to be clear, creative, awesome, and that the integrity that falls from that or becomes of that is more powerful than any other tool you'll use growing forward. So grab it. It's right in front of you. You just need to seize it. Carpe diem today, right?
There you go.
Yeah. As you're talking about grabbing it, an idea came to my mind with there. I had a friend a while ago who won one of those raffle type things. And she got to go in that booth with the fan and all the dollar bills that spin around. Have you ever seen those? And she said it was horrible because she's just like grabbing everywhere and missing dollars all the time. And it feels like she should be able to get hundreds of dollars in there. And she walked out with like $20 after a minute in this booth with things flying around because there was so much going on that she couldn't pick one. Now, I haven't been in there, and I don't know if you could really just follow one with your eyes and pick one at a time. But the tendency is just to grab and grab and grab and assume that you're going to get a bunch out of it. And I think that's kind of our life. We just assume that we can grab whatever shiny object is around us and we're going to be happy with it. But clarity, and I love kind of an idea that came as John was talking, clarity may not be the same for all of us. One person, their clarity and their vision for life might be to grab whatever comes by next and live in the moment. And that's what brings them the happiness. Another person might realize that their clarity, their vision comes down to planting a farm and going out and working the soil every day. And another person is building a job. There's clarity can be different for everyone. Some people it's hyper focused. Some people it might be seeing everything in the world. So clarity, it's not the same for everyone. And I know I have a tendency to push my vision on other people and say, this is what it should mean. But clarity is going to be what it means to you. And it's going to take some thought to figure that out, but maybe there's no right answer to what is clarity. How's that for killing the whole thought about how we're teaching clarity?
That just
Yay, I get the truth bomb.
Truth bomb. It's true. That's such a profound thought. I'm sitting here mulling over it, being like, it's true. Clarity really is what we want it to be. Whether it's we want to be hyper focused, or we want to know the direction that we want to go in life, or just being able to know every single thing that's going on and have our calendars set up, right? To each different person, clarity is different. And there is no set thing for clarity. But I think some of the best practices and what Brendon Burchard talks with seeking clarity is start opening yourself up. Start taking little steps to move forward towards what clarity is for you. And as you take that clarity forward, you start becoming that true high performer of which you are. And now, as I don't think we can wrap up better than that. So with that being said, thank you, champions, for joining us for another episode of Champion Reads. If you found inspiration in this, go ahead and subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, as well as you can go to our website, mychampioncircle.com, and there you'll be able to find link to our podcast, link to our socials, and everything else going in the Champion Circle universe. Until next time, champions, continue to be the best version of yourselves, continue to be the awesomeness that you are, and always remember that it just takes a few steps to get clear. And whatever that clarity is for you, take those few steps forward. We'll see you on the next episode of Champion Reads.